Hi, I'm Thomas. Welcome back to Pilot's Workshop. In this episode, we are making the large router fence for our ultimate workbench, which is one of the most important add-ons. And I'm going to talk a bit about other gadgets that might come in handy. This episode is going to be a bit different, since I actually lost a lot of my footage when my external hard drive got fried by a faulty USB plug. So the very first steps of this build are missing, but I think I can talk you through them. At this point, I already made and assembled the main components of the fence, most of which were straightforward. The large arches were made with a hole saw and finished with a jigsaw. These slotted holes would best be made on a router table with a router fence, but that would be kind of a paradox, so I drilled the ends of the slots and cut them out with a jigsaw. I got a lot of tear out so they don't look pretty, and they're also not very precise. But they don't have to be, they just have to be there. Front and bottom of the fence are connected rigidly with 4 supports with 4 long screws on each of them. To allow for safe work with any size router bit, the fence receives 2 sliders in the front to open and close the gap in the middle, which is what the slotted holes are for. And that's what we have to continue working on. The sliders receive the same aluminium rail on the top as the working surface of the workbench itself. I already cut the relief for those, but I didn't make them deep enough, so we recut them now. For this operation, the fence can already be used. Securing it works with M8 screws in the rails, because the rail system that I use is specifically made for M8 screws. After everything fits, the inside edges of the sliders can be chamfered to allow for finer adjustment. The rails were fixed in the same way as in episode 9 on the workbench. Since I'm using carriage bolts once again, I squared up the first few millimeters of the holes. Then everything was put together. And to minimize the chance of dust getting trapped in between, making the fence inaccurate, I gave the bottom inside edge of the sliders a nice and strong chamfer. At this point I noticed that the fence wasn't perfectly square for some reason. So I thought this is a good chance to show a possible calibration method that I used. I took off the screws holding the front plate in place and added washers of the right thickness under the bottom ones, since my fence was hanging over, so to speak. After that, everything was perfectly square and I could finish it up. At this point, it is completely functional, but it would be wrong to not add a nice little dust collection feature to minimize chaos in the workshop. So I wanted to make a lid in this area that could hold the vacuum pipe. To attach the pipe, I got a little rubber adapter that fit quite nicely into a 35mm hole. I cut off anything unnecessary and as quickly as that, the vacuum cleaner fit into the router fence. The lid received a hinge, and with that the router fence was finished. The next thing that will be a handy addition for the router table is a precise and sturdy miter gauge. I thought about making one, but then I decided against it and bought one instead. And I got one that has pre-made stops at the most common angles, which should make working with it quite enjoyable. And for really precise tasks, the aluminium bar can be taken out and replaced with a sacrificial wooden bar. The only thing I really had to do on this miter gauge was to stick some felt under it so it wouldn't scratch the table surface. The last little helpers I want to show you in this video are small, self-made bench dogs. The footage I had from making those got lost as well, but there is really not much to tell. They are made from a hardwood dowel in the same diameter as the hole pattern and a softwood head. The main surface of the head has a 2-degree angle to make sure that workpieces get pushed down onto the table. I made them in 3 different heights to give me more options when clamping thin boards as well as really thick pieces. These bench dogs can also be cut into as they won't damage any tools, and they're really easy and quick to make and replace. So this sums up all the gadgets that I made for the workbench so far. In the next part of the workbench series, we will start working on the underbelly of the workbench to make it even more practical and awesome. And if you're interested in this workbench and want to build it yourself, you can buy the complete set of plans on my website. I'll leave a link in the description below. This is Pilot's Workshop. Thank you for watching.